So, good morning to this webinar, Digitalization of Business Processes. This is an online session from the EU project CloudSocket, and physically we are here in Olten at the Fachhochschule of Applied Science in northern West Switzerland. The whole consortium is in this room here. There are some guests who are physically in the room, and of course there are a lot of guests in the webinar. For technical purpose, I will make some technical comments because some of the presenters are presenting here, some of them are remotely. So please don't be surprised that some of my comments address IT administrations. So the team is the following. We have a BPAS consulting team. I hope you see my slides. I see an echo somewhere, so maybe you would like to shut down the speakers. So there is a BPAS consulting team, the company BOC, which is represented by myself and Damiano, who will present the technical parts. We have from BBCon, Jürgen Jenert, who will present the broker view. There is a company called Mathema with Stefano Cuomo, who cannot join us today for health reasons. We have BPAS operation. There is a company Imens from Romania, where Katarina and Konstantin will introduce the marketplace. There is a company Atos from Spain, where Joaquin will introduce the workflow and intercloud challenges. A company Foster from Italy, where Luis will show us the allocation, how to bridge business process down to operations. And of course, we have the introduction of some smart features, which we call research fireworks. This is beyond state of the art. There are new innovative approaches where we think that cloud computing and digital transformation will be in the next several years. So from University of Ulm, we have Frank Riesinger, who will demonstrate new aspects of intercloud challenges and cloud management. From the Greek Research Center Force, there is Chris, who will explain cross-layer monitoring, so a detailed assessment of the cloud infrastructure across several layers. And of course, from the host of today's meeting, Northern West Switzerland of Applied Science, Knut Hinkelmann-Emanuele, who will introduce how to introduce smart technology for business IT alignment. Technical issues, besides technical administrative comments, which address to the organization of the webinar, please mute all the microphones to avoid echoes and also to avoid any disruptions. On the other side, if you would like to interact with us, please use the chat. We have dedicated person that observe the chat, and if there are questions or some issues, please put them in the chat and we can react on this during the webinar. And of course, also after the webinar, there's a possibility for some interaction. And of course, we are welcome to give our contact details for any type of cooperation afterwards. The overall framework is about 1 hour, so we hope to introduce the main issues in 1 hour. And of course, there are a lot of references to YouTube videos and to innovation shops and training material. So there's a lot of things are on the web page, from the PowerPoint slides you see here, from demonstration videos, and even the source code. So whatever we present here, most of them you can get for free for research purpose, and some of them you can get for demonstration purpose and have a look on the different ways. So now, technically, I would like to start now, and the first question is actually there is a digital transformation. You all know the saying, if there is the storm of innovation, the storm of new things, there are some people trying to protect behind walls, and some people buying wind crafts to use this wind. And the question is really, not if you're affected about digital transformation. Digital transformation affects everybody. There are a lot of samples where business goes down. We have Amazon, who brings parcels and has a big competition about local institutions. A couple of weeks we had a big event in the Europark in Rust from Baden-Württemberg, where a roller coaster producer is under big pressure because of virtual reality roller coasters. So actually, if you are a single shop, a local one, or if you are against big players in the internet, the digital transformation comes, and we have to find opportunities how to deal with it, especially in Europe with the data regulations and also the data problems. So the question is not if you should consider digital transformation as something which is interest of you, the question is how you react. And therefore the question is, on the one side, you would like as a business aspect, you would like to have trust in your relationships, you would like to have long-term relations, you would like to have continue your business model and adapt it to the current needs, and maybe benefit from the new technology and improve on various parts. So these are the business expectations, and we cover this with our exploitation assets. And if you go to our webpage, you have a market tool, a tool market, where on this tool market you can really go and use tools that are ready for use. On the other side, we would like to give also an outlook and IT research, and here we are talking about complexity. No? We would like to tackle complex problems, new things, agile things, and these new scenarios, and these are the innovation items. So beside the tool market on the web page, you also have an innovation shop where all this innovation can be downloaded. They are provided for free with videos, with tools, etc. So we try to make a balance between the exploitation, so going to the business and having something valuable, and on the other side, being inspired by this freedom and injection of this innovation. And you can get both from the CloudSocket website. Now, this is a storyboard which at the very beginning was provided by a startup from BBCon. And this startup is a biologist, and she produces a very high technology worms that make humus. And therefore, she gets paid to get rubbish, and she gets paid by the product, by humus. And all she needs is a piece of land where these high-tech worms are happy. Let's call it that way. So the idea is we are talking to those guys who have nothing to do with cloud computing, with infrastructure, with digital transformation, with innovation. These are smart guys, but they are not business process specialists. They are not IT specialists. And our way of doing this is introducing them with so-called business cases. And one business case could be marketing. Another business case would be invoicing, procurement, customer relationship. So these are things that every company, independent if you're in the IT sector or you're in another sector, have to deal with. And we introduced this business layer on the very top. And in that sample, it's sending an invoice. So you identify the customer, you identify the products you would like to invoice, and you send the invoice and maybe notify for the procurement. And down on the very bottom, what is called here cloud deployment configuration, you have a software code, which is a big XML file, where you really have to say which component is deployed under which regulations and in which configuration. And this only the computer can read. And our task is to the very simple business process on the top to go down to the very concrete computer interpretable format. And we introduced two steps in between. We introduced an abstract workflow, and an abstract workflow is something like a semi-technical point of view where we add some aspects. For example, a lane is an IT system. So we identify which IT system you would like to interact, and should this interaction be manual or automatic. And in case you would like to implement this, there is a concrete executable workflow where a technician has to sit down and program very complex stuff to interact with the different cloud offerings. And then you have to identify how it is deployed, with which infrastructure and with which adaptation rules. And that's the whole complexity. And our task is to hide this complexity for the user. And this hiding is a new job role which we identified. And this new job role is called broker. So there exist people who need knowledge from both sides in order to assist persons to bridge this business and IT alignment. So we have a new job description, and this job description is the broker, and this broker looks on the one side to the business layer and to the other side to the IT layer. Now, how do we do this? Is everything new? No, not everything is new. We rely on a business process management system paradigm, which has been developed in the middle of the 90s. And we adapted it to the needs of the cloud. So we still start with the design phase. We proceed with an allocation phase. We introduce something new, which is an offering phase. This is new. This corresponds to the new type of servicification, that it's not product that you are using, but there are services that you offer. So this is something new. Then you execute, which is the operation, which is very, very complex, and we have dedicated presentations for this. And of course, you would like to have the evaluation in order to have a look if this is what you wanted actually. Now, I would like to hand over. We still keep the slides from my PC, but the speaker is now somebody different, Jürgen Jenert. Please, the floor is yours to introduce the broker from a business incubator view.
So, hello everybody, my name is Jürgen Jenert. I represent BWCon. This is an innovation facilitator operating in southwest of Germany, and additionally an industrial association. I would like to dive a bit more deep into the framework of digital transformation first, and then motivate a bit why we need exactly this infrastructure and why we work on this concept Robert introduced. Digital transformation, what is this about? You see here on the black line, a technology cycle. And you know, then cycle 1 is over and cycle 2 starts. I give you one example. Let's assume the film rolls, Kodak. There was a technology cycle. There was first in the mid phase, a very steep phase, and then there was a kind of consolidation phase, and then there came a new technology out, end of the beginning of 2000, which was the digital photography. The digital photography had at the beginning a lower performance level. You can see this a lower entry level here on the black line. Here, digital photography had a low resolution, and digital memory cards had a low memory size. You could store only 8 photos. Going back to the slide on the left side, you see a blue line and a dotted blue line. At the beginning of such a technology cycle, you focus on a product, and then there comes a certain point where the blue dashed line will pass the blue line, which means the service business became more important than the product business. And these services we see nowadays are all cloud-based services. And in green, by the way, you see the overall number of companies in the market. If you map this, for example, to the automotive sector, we see that the overall number of companies on the market is going down, is declining. And of course, services like car2go and so are dominating, and that's why the companies shift their business from the blue line to the dotted blue line. So this is what we can see generally in digital transformation. Our point is, how do we manage this transition process? What happens if there comes a new technology and allows disruptive business? And this is something which all companies has to face with and has to manage their services. And you need cloud-based services in order to jump on one side from the blue line to the dotted blue line, and of course to manage a digital transformation when a new technology allows a new business. So, and the role of IT in this digital transformation. So IT can be considered as a tool to implement a business model, to implement a revenue stream. And current concepts and technologies, cloud, data analytics, IoT, 4G, 5G, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and so on, and so on, and so on. They allow all such the implementation of such a disruptive business model, or to transfer product-oriented to product services. So we have to allow the implementation of existing business models more efficient, and we have to allow the implementation of new business models. So And you have to adapt the company internal processes to the actual size of the organization. This means a company acting in such a market, in such a digital transformation, is growing. And if you grow, then you have to slightly enhance and modify these your internal processes. And here you can do this on two extreme sides. Small companies, they start managing their business in Excel and other tables. This is simple, intuitive, fast, relatively cheap. But as soon as business become more complex and organization become more complex, that's not enough. On the other side, there are powerful tools on the market, complex, slow, expensive, and of course, capital binding. And we are somehow in CloudSocket in the middle, and we would like to enable companies with our infrastructure to implement the business as efficient as possible, to implement the business as lean as possible, and to be as flexible and as adaptive as possible. And here, CloudSocket has worked on an architecture which can brief with the needs of such a company. And this is, from my side, from my perspective, the introduction, the motivation, why we have done this. And now the next speaker will introduce how we implement this.
Okay, so we have seen now the viewpoint of a broker. Please keep in mind this is a new role which was not known before. This interaction as a broker, which was more from the incubator view. So the interest was more to serve the regional evolution in a particular part in Germany. And now we switch to a consulting view from a consulting company. So thank you, Simone, that you jump in. And now it's a question how the broker can benefit for his own business. So a new business model, and now how do you interact with your customers? So Simone, please.
Okay, Matema as a broker of Matema objective is interact with principally SMEs. So small enterprises they have a lack of confidence with a cloud service on the internet world. Basically, we're going to interact with SMEs that have the main problem to have a better interface with the customers and the client. Our principal example is the gas meter company, a company that in the last years have they're growing in the last years, and because they have encountered some difficulty by an aggressive competitors on the field, they start to thinking to pay more attention on the customer, and to do this they try to expand improve this CRM process to interact better with the customer and make a better product for this client. To get this objective, there are three main goals to get. The first one is all of the customers to track in real time the issue, so create a ticketing system for the issues. Improve the internal communication among the different departments of the gas meter, and integrate a different system or archive inside the company. Matema's consulting company have the role to analyze the business process of the gas meter company, find the possible solution and implement it. The needs of the business side are various and not so clearly to the technical implementation. The main business needs here are cost reduction, better quality of work, risk reduction, more efficiency, business acceleration, and time to market reduction. Also an improvement in operational efficiency. The SMEs are not immediately or direct find a technical solution to these needs. They talk with a broker in order to resolve this difficulty. The broker finds some technical solution to propose also not only to the client but also to the technical part of the project. And our solution principally are using a CRM, customer relationship manager, using a workflow engine to clarify every steps of the business process, give a unique access point and to simplify and make faster access to the cloud resources, delivering tracking, using a data management system to have a better control of the data and backup, a timely scheduled backup, using a business smart agents and a customer satisfaction evaluation. The gas meters has this strong need to upgrade the legacy system toward a flexible and scalable one, and they also needed to increase their cloud readiness. So, from the side of the consulting company broker, we needed to start talking with the SMEs and modeling his business process using the various tools created inside the CloudSocket project. We modeling his business process. We work on a AppSat workflow to make his business process ready for that technical implementation, and then created two bundle to propose to the possible customer. One type of package, a consulting package, is something like tailored fitted for this specifically client, in this case the gas meter, and also a operational package, something you can sell directly on the marketplace and ready for every customer they find that as a bundle ready and feasible for their needs.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we have seen from the two different broker views, and now let's jump in to the consulting view. So we would like to offer support to identify which technology is relevant and which technology is not so relevant, and this on an individual point of view. So what we want to do is we would like to identify the business process, and here you see concrete tools with which you can do this. The community edition of Adonis is for free, so you can do this with some limitations. And of course, there's also the commercial version. You see always in every of the slides the corresponding YouTube videos at the bottom, and also we provided a tool which is called AutoScore for the evaluation. And again, you will see here a couple of online demonstrations. But we don't want to have these online demonstrations. We would like to have the real demonstrations. And now I hand over to my colleague. And I think now we need to switch the screen to Damiano to show the modeling. How the modeling is done in real, and I think you need to come to the microphone. So you see now how business process modeling is performed.
Hello everyone. So now we'll show you the design environment, BPaaS design environment. That is an online tool that gives you the possibility to model all the relevant aspects of online model, and in particular I'm talking about the business process, the workflow, the KPI rules, and the deployment rules. This one is an example of a business process for the sending invoice, and we can see here the modeler and the web-based modeler. And now I will show you some features of this modeler. In particular, I'm talking about the Cloud Readiness plugin. That is a service that gives the possibility to check if the score of readiness for your service in order to be deployed on the cloud. And the web questionnaire, the integration of a web questionnaire in order to choose the best services matching your needs. But this one will be described in details by Emanuele from the FHW, and the simulation service that gives you the possibility to calculate cost and execution time of your business process. I will start the cloud readiness. The cloud readiness work answering some question, general and specific for your business process. I pre-filled the questionnaire in order to speed up the process. And once the process starts, the first one is marked. And going through the process will be presented some more questionnaire for every task. And once we answer, we will get a score defining our level of readiness for the specific task. And this mark will identify, will be green, yellow, or red in order to identify this level. About the questionnaire, this one is integrated as a group in BPMN. We can select a group of activity that we would like to answer the questionnaire and identify the best service that match our need for these two activities. And we open, I can show you a demonstration of opening this questionnaire. Here we will see the questionnaire and the list of services available, and later my colleague will show you how you will have to answer this question in order to get the best service. And once you specified, once you select, the service will be annotated and semantically enriched our model. About the simulation, yes. It will take time. I think you will. Okay, let's switch to this one. The simulation gives us the possibility to calculate, as said previously, some parameters like cost and execution times, and it's executed providing some parameter like the total time of executions. So don't require many parameters. And at the end, it will show the visualization of in a graphical way of the probability of every path, the maximal cost, the total execution times, and information, more details for every activities of our business process, more in details. Currently is calculating. I can shoot some stuff. Okay, this is the result. Here we can see the probability for every path. We can see if this deadlocked, so we have structural problem or not, and we can visualize the path directly on the model, clicking on that link. So in this case, the model will be opened and the path will be highlighted and visualized. That's all about the business process design environment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Damiano. And regarding the cost models, this is actually to estimate how costs change if you go to the cloud or not, or different alternatives. So for example, you can copy this business process several times with different alternatives, one with manual services, one with workflow services, one with the cloud, one without the cloud, one with one single cloud, hybrid, etc. And then you can compare not only one process, but several processes, and you get a much better feeling of what the decision actually would mean if you go to the cloud or not. But the question is, of course, are these figures real? I mean, now we currently have simulated, estimated figures, but if this actually is real, this will be presented by Chris. So we hand over the screen to Chris, and you can say when we decided for one solution, how can we actually evaluate if this our initial estimation is correct? And please explain this so-called cross-layer modeling.
Okay, thank you, Robert. The BPAS evaluation relies on information coming from the execution environment. There we have various monitoring sensors deployed across all the layers of the cloud layers, from the infrastructure to the service and the workflow layers. And then all these monitoring data, along with the BPAS dependencies, that is the mapping between the BPAS to specific workflows and from workflow services, workflow tasks to specific cloud services, are modeled and structured and then are stored into a specific knowledge base. Then, in order to perform the BPAS evaluation, we perform specific SparkQL queries over this knowledge base in order to derive if there is a violation of a specific API or not. This is actually the service behind this functionality. Two are the main methods that provides this functionality. The first one is the evaluate KPI method. This method requires a number of parameters such as the broker ID, the bundle ID, the KPI name, and the KPI period. When we execute this method, we get the values of these KPIs, and then we can derive if there is a violation of a specific KPI or not. The second method of this service is the KPI drill down method. With this method, we can derive if we have a KPI hierarchy with a top KPI and children KPIs, and if there is a violation of the top KPI, which child KPI is blamed for this violation. For this method requires also the same parameters, but in this case, we have to fill in a more generic KPI, top KPI, which have some sub KPIs under it. So if we execute this method, we get results such as the value of the top KPI and the values of the children KPIs, and thus we can derive which child KPI is violated, and thus this will derive to a violation of the top KPI. That's all for the BPAS evaluation, and we can continue to the next presenter.
Thank you, Chris. So now the screen comes to my laptop back again. Thank you. So we have the different variations how to provide different tools for this business process consulting. And now the idea is what would be the business process consulting in the future? What are the innovation, the injectives, ideas? What is the research talking about? And here I would like to hand over to Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz. The question is from this PC. Perfect. Knut and Emanuele, please.
Okay, the first task that we want to talk about in the research is how to align business and IT in the cloud. So this means we, on the one hand side, we have the business environment, on the other hand side, we have the cloud offers, and how can we combine these two? So the idea is that we use a modeling environment. We model the business episodes and the business processes, and on the other hand side, we model the offers of the provider, and we match these two. This is called the smart business IT alignment in the cloud. For this modeling, we usually use graphical modelings like we know it from business processes. But on the other hand side, we want to support the users. This means we have to have an interpretation of the models. We have to know the semantics so that we can do the mapping of what is offered and what is required. So we have a formal representation as an ontology, which represents the background knowledge of the BPAS domain. And then these two are combined, and the combination of the two is what we call semantic lifting. We support the modeler while modeling the business processes via access to the ontology. So the ontology provides offers and recommendations how to create the model and how to specify the business process requirements. This is done via an ontology that we created based on some standards that in the end uses nearly 10,000 concepts and relations. So it's a huge background knowledge that we have as a support for the business user. So how's this going? So we model the domain. This means we model the business processes, we model the requirements of these business processes. And this is done in the AutoXX environment. We have the notebooks, we have some attributes, and we provide the values for the requirements based on the content of the ontology. On the other hand side, we have the workflows, for which we also have a model, and where we specify what is the functionality and the non-functional specification of the cloud services. Again, we do this in the notebook. So now the next step is we have the models, then we translate this into the ontology so that we then can do the smart alignment for this requirements and this provision, the specification of the cloud service. And here we have two tasks. On the one hand side, we want to map the business knowledge of the company to the IT knowledge in the way in which the cloud service is specified. So we use background knowledge for that. And on the other hand side, we compare the requirements with the specification of the cloud services. Again, we use background knowledge for that. When we do this, we identify two problems. The first problem is that we sometimes do not find a service or a workflow for the whole process. So maybe we have to go down into the depths and look for services that only satisfy parts of the process. And for this, we have a hierarchical approach. First, we look up for a service for the whole process. This was what we call the workflow. By looking at the requirements, and if we do not find something, okay, then we go into more details. We look for groups of activities, or we look for individual tasks for which we do the specification and then do the mapping to identify the services. So the second problem that we identified is that this is a lot of effort to specify all the requirements. So how can we reduce this effort? The way that we do is we have developed a questionnaire where we only ask for relevant information. We do not specify all the requirements, but only the requirements that are really needed to identify a service. So we can identify as early as possible and with as few questions as possible whether there is a service available for the process or whether we have to dig down into the details. So we look up for the whole processes, but instead of specifying the requirements, we have a questionnaire where we simply ask some questions. And as soon as there's no service available, we dig deeper and look for process fragments. Again, we have the questionnaires for that and identify the possible services. And how this is done, this will now be presented by my colleague, Emanuele Laurenzi. So we have to change the screen so that we see his screen, and then he will show how this questionnaire works.
Okay, thank you, Knut. So let me show you an application scenario to give you an idea on how the questionnaire can be applied. I refer to the company that before Jürgen was referring at. So we have the Golden Worm company at the early stage with two cloud services that are implementing the send invoice process. Namely, one is the Sugar CRM customer management system with a few specifications. For example, the storage location is in Germany. The storage type is a local file system. Availability is about 90%, and the simultaneous users are 3. The same specifications are applied for the simple invoice, which is the cloud service that is managing the invoice. Now, at some point, the business expands, the business of the Golden Worm. So the new requirements are coming into play. Now we have that the storage location from Germany should be located in Austria, Greece, Italy, Romania, Spain, and Switzerland. Then a storage type from the file system should move to the cloud. Then the downtime from 8 hours should be reduced to 2 minutes. The daily transactions are increasing from 100 to 2,000, and the concurrent users are increasing from 3 to 10. All right. Now, what happened is that the broker screens all the requirements, and he recognizes that for the storage type, for example, the process needs to change, which means a new lane should be added in the send invoice business process, which deals with the management of the document. So he would add a lane called document systems, as well as an activity which is called management document. And now what we do next, we do apply the questionnaire on this activity. So let me jump into the questionnaire. We have a demo prepared. Here's the questionnaire. We do see services on the right hand side, all the kind of services that we have for this use case. And then we start to go through the questions. The first 3 questions are about functional requirements, and then we start with non-functional. So now we ask the object, so the noun. In this case, we already say it's document. So we type document, and as soon as I start typing in, then a call to the ontology takes place. And now we can select document, we click on next, and as soon as I click on next, a semantic query takes place that normalizes the business level with the IT level, and prepares the ground for the matching. And then the result of the matching is shown here on the right hand side, where we have all the cloud services that are filtered out. The more I answer, the more they are filtered out. So the action now would be manage. There you go. We found also manage. I click on it. And then next, now the PQC. The PQC, we annotate, we generate customer billing data. Here, we can also find the PQC category just by typing the ID. And now we start to answer questions with the non-functional requirements. So we have 5 categories here: payment, service support, performance, target market, and data security. And then as soon as I choose one, for example, data security, then the smart algorithm, which includes the entropy, kicks in, which means that so to keep it simple, the higher the entropy value, the more cloud services can be filtered out. And therefore, the entropy that is connected to the follow-up question then triggers the display of this question. So now, how would you like to store your documents? We simply say, okay, storage service, which is going to be in the cloud. We click on next, and then we see that there are like 2 services available, either Dropbox or Google Drive. So up to 20 cloud services, we went down to 2 services after 5 questions. If you're wondering how you would add cloud services, here is the interface to insert the new cloud services. This is fully based on ontology, and as soon as you enter it, this is saved in the triple store. We are currently screening for marketplaces, and we will enter hundreds of cloud services based on that. So now back to the presentation. So the demo's been shown. We said that we identified these 2 cloud services for this activity, and now we want to apply the questionnaire on a group of activities. And instead of repeating myself, showing you again the questionnaire, I tell you directly that there are 2 cloud services that have been identified. One is open source billing, the other one Invoice Ninja. And then we do the same for a group of activity, which is up on the model. They are related to the customer relationship management, and we identify 2 cloud services, IMENS and CRM. As you can see, they all have their own specifications, which are now matching to the new BPaaS requirements. So at the end of the day, we have 6 services now. Each of them, they are implementing part of the process, and now we would hand in this result to our partner Fort, that with the Smart Service Discovery and Composition tool, they will go more into details, in the technical details, and select the best ones out of these 6.
Okay, this is the summary of what we just saw, that we have the semantic annotation with the semantic lifting, then we have the alignment of the business and IT with the questionnaire, and we so that finally we had the selected services available. Okay. Now we can go back to the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. We now go back to the main presentation, and this concludes the first part of our technology group, which is consulting. And consulting is that the broker interacts with the customer to identify what is for this particular customer needs the best cloud strategy. Should you move? Should you partly move? Should you stay where you are? Now we change the focus, and now we switch to what we call operation. And operation is a little bit a different view, because here somebody makes a pre-investment and says, I think that this workflow will be needed, independent of knowing the customer, and therefore you need a marketplace. And the difference in this marketplace, which Konstantin Valerio will show us, is that you're not offering software as a service, but you're offering business process as a service. So you're offering the whole package. So now we are switching to the screen to Konstantin, and he will then demonstrate live that you can select business processes as a whole package. And somebody has to implement this in advance and then offers to customers who join the marketplace. Konstantin, please.
Yes, thank you, Robert. So this is the CloudSocket Marketplace main page. It is located on the csmarket.imens.com. Here is where the business process end up after they are allocated in the allocation tool. We have a list here on the right of business processes. On the left, you can also filter them. If you decide to see more information for one of these business processes, you can just click on it, and it will open up another page. Let me just choose one of the business process. Let's take this one. Okay, so now we see the page with the more information containing the price and also some details about the business process, some relevant tags. You have a tab with the business process definition that you can check out. Also, you can see the business process implementation and see if this fits your needs. And also we have a service level agreement for this business process. If you decide you want this business process, you can just add it to your cart, proceed to your payment of choice. That could be either PayPal or bank order. And after that, the process will be sent to execution. I think
Perfect.
This is it.
So back to my slide set, we will continue. So what you have seen here is not a marketplace, which you probably know already from software as a services, but a marketplace that really shows business processes. And you have to decide which business process you would like to run. And selecting the business process, there are the decisions like Emanuele presented previously. Is everything automatically included, or is it a sequence of 3 services with some partly manual activities, or which services, which composition you take? So these are, let's say, hidden by selecting the business process. You say what you want, and then you, of course, you can have transparency what is actually implemented, but you don't need to worry about, because this is pre-configured. Now we are going to the execution module, and Joachim from Atos will now take over the presentation and will show you how everything will be executed, developed, deployed, and how the workflow is then presented. So it seems that Joachim does not have the screen yet, but now, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. So what we will see now is after the customers identify what are the BPaaS bundles that they want to buy, what happens when they click in the button. So you can see here that automatically is deployed the BPaaS bundle, and the customer can execute this BPaaS bundle in the execution environment, and this environment allowed to orchestrate different services. For example, you will see that we have put together in this workflow the CRM, the Microsoft CRM, the Invoice Ninja, and not in this case, but it can be also integrated with Dropbox, as Emanuele has commented. So you will see now in this demo that there are the functionalities that we have integrated is that we will obtain automatically these clients from the CRM. We synchronize these clients with the Invoice Ninja, and we allow to manage this invoice using this Invoice Ninja system. So let's see. Sorry. So what the customer will receive after buying the BPaaS bundle in the marketplace is this simple email that they say thank you to purchase the bundle, and they only need to click here. So automatically it's redirected to the workflow engine that it is responsible to orchestrate this service. The user is the same that you have it in the marketplace because there are a single sign-on, so you only need to have an account in the marketplace and you can go directly to the workflow in order to execute the bundle. So the user can see here that it is deployed, it is up and running, and they can start to initiate the process. It has only commented that, of course, the customer can manage the users and also to configure the tokens in order to connect it with the third-party service, in this case, the CRM and the Invoice Ninja. So let's start the process. You will see now that when we start the process, automatically is created a manual task that can be attended. So the user can see what are the pending tasks to be used by the different groups and identify the task and claim it. Automatically is assigned to this user and they can resolve it. This is a provisional step that you want to indicate this. So the real first step is to select the clients that we have commented in the presentation. So we claim it, and the user can identify what is the service, the client that they want to assign, and it is automatically collected from the CRM that it is this dashboard. So you can see the list of the clients are the same. So the user can select one of them and automatically it's synchronized with the Invoice Ninja. Of course, we created a new task that should be covered by the accounting department, and again, the user can claim. We need to create a new one invoice, if not is the existing one. So let me check here. Okay. So now in the queue, you can claim to create a new invoice. So now you can create it, this new invoice here, back 10 kilos. And the cost 100. And 2. So we incorporate it in the invoice and finish the task. What the system do automatically is, if we go to the invoice, we will see that there is a new invoice created automatically with the draft status, because we need to be validated. This new invoice should be validated by the supervisor. So here in the group of supervisor appear a new task that the supervisor can claim it and say that it is correct, and we finish the task. Automatically, if you go to the Invoice Ninja, you will see that this new invoice changed the status to the send invoice. So at the end, what we provide with this is we are completely abstraction with execution of this bundle, and we can use the different infrastructure to use it in the cloud, in IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, as we can explain it in the location, and also Frank will explain what are the differences in this deployment. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much, Joachim. So you saw how such a workflow would look like. Of course, this is the concrete sample of sending invoice, but could be any combination of services. And now we are handing directly over to Luis, who explains now a missing part, because what we did not explain, how this nice workflow, which was presented by Joachim, can actually be deployed on an infrastructure. And this bit, which we call allocation, and this allocation is actually new in the cloud era, because you have to talk about how to deploy. And this how to deploy, this piece is actually missing, and this is now introduced by Luis. Please.
Thank you, Robert. So the allocation tool is the system, the section of the system responsible for making the bridge between business or design environment and technical execution environment. In this area, the broker can see all the bundles with which he had worked before. As we can see, we have 3 possible status published: a complete bundle that has been published in the marketplace, a consistent, that means a complete bundle that has not been published yet, and a draft one, which is a bundle that does not have the minimum required information. For a quick demo, I will create a new bundle. And here starts the first connection to the bridge. So we browse the available design packages, and we select one. To continue with the send invoice example, we can see that downloading from the design environment, we have the business process, the workflow, and we can confirm. By confirming, we are downloading all this data from the design environment, and we are processing the workflows to understand the missing, the components that we need to allocate. As you can see, the status of the bundle is draft, which means we still need to introduce some data, and the system guides you by telling you which data concretely you are missing. If we introduce one example I can show you, for example, the setting of the atomic service. Edit, select one atomic service, and if I save, you will see that the atomic service will disappear from the missing content. Okay, the name is not unique, but so I have here a complete bundle. Once you introduce all the information, you now will be able to publish the bundle. With this, we can go back to Robert's slide set.
Okay. Now, we have now seen how different tools operate this business process as a service. We have seen the execution here again from Atos, the Your PPM workflow engine with the corresponding link. It's an open source project in the Fireware community, and of course the demonstration links and all the videos. And again, the BPaaS allocation is based on the product life base from the company Foster. Again, here you have the contact details, the allocation tool, the prototypes, as well as the videos. Now the question is, how is the universities are thinking about this? Because I think what we have just seen from the industry is old-fashioned for a researcher like Frank Riesinger, and he will introduce what you expect from tools in the next years, let's say next 5 to 10 years. Okay, so we hand over the screen to Frank Riesinger, who will now explain the difference between clouds, inter-cloud challenges, and by the way, this is in industry a very, very big and hot topic today.
Exactly. Thank you, Robert. So what we saw so far is how the bundle is created, how it was published in Marketplace, now the user bought it, and now it arrives to the execution environment. So what happens there is a quite complex process here. Just a short example for our bundle deployment that we already implemented is that we can manage the services on a cloud provider independent kind, and therefore for here, for example, the process looks like that the cloud provider engine takes the deployment description that is in the bundle, then on the EAS level creates a VM, installs the service, install monitoring, and so on, and also have, for example, an SLA engine that keeps track of KPI problems, for example, KPI violations, and so on. I will not show it now live, but I will just refer you to our YouTube channel. So just search for CloudSocket on our YouTube channel, and then you can see in detail how this happens, what I just said. So once this is done, all this process, the user can actually use it like we saw it in the workflow engine by Joaquin. So one specific challenge is the multi-cloud support. We are now not only capable of having multiple clouds on the same level, but now we can also support the same service orchestration between the cloud provider layers. So this can be the case when you do not have more free resources of one provider, then you just go to another provider. If there's a problem on one provider, then you just migrate. Such a migration can look like that. We therefore also integrated in our cloud provider engine that we can define adaptation workflows that look like the following: that you have different tasks, and throughout the execution of this task, for example, when a KPI violation occurred, then we can orchestrate the services between different cloud providers. Here, for example, EAS, OpenStack, and a PaaS Heroku, and we can just migrate from one cloud provider to the other, and then therefore, for example, save costs if this is cheaper or this is more in line with your SLA configuration. And that's just some examples for the deployment part. And now I hand over back to Robert.
Okay, thank you, Frank. We are now coming back to the main slide set. Here we have now the viewpoint of the innovations from University of Ulm. And just for completeness reasons, what you have just seen, this configuration, there is a cloud application markup language, which is called CAML. And there are also some ideas to merge it with some other standards like Tosca. And if you want to see here, the Force Research Center has a significant contribution to here. So if you would like to go into the details, again, there is a demonstration video on the slide where you can go into detail how cloud applications are described and can be standardized in order to support these intercloud challenges. Now, this is, I would like to end up. We have our software tools. You have seen them. There is a tool market on the web page where you can partly download them for open access. Some of the tools are license-based. Some of them are open source. It depends. So please go to the tool market on the web page, and you will find the tools which we just presented. Of course, there are research items. If you go to the web page, there is called an innovation shop. And this innovation shop explains with background information, deliverables, publications, prototypes, videos, each item, what you have just seen. You see a list, for example, DMN to CAML, the questionnaire, the context adaptive approach, and also PaaS orchestration with the Cloudiator. So everything is in the innovation shop. If you think that what we've talked about here feels interesting, I would like to address three communities. The one is the Fireware community, where Atos provides open source this orchestration tool. It's a huge community where you for sure can contribute. There's also GitHub for different open source projects, and in particular, we trigger the community around the Cloudiator from University of Ulm, which is a small community dedicated to this problem. And of course, we have the outxx.org community, again, a worldwide community on this conceptual modeling, where this business IT alignment is in a huge community discussed. If you would like to have an overall view, we would like to point you to one document, and in the European project, this is called deliverable, and the name of the deliverable is 4.678, where all the prototype tools are explained and all the links are again in this tool. So these are the ways of getting involved. Again, these are the links, these are the contact details, and now I thank everybody for joining the webinar, and of course for doing the presentations. So this is it.